Greetings and welcome to a dev update video. That's right, I'm back. I've been away for ages. I apologize for that, but I'm back, and I'm back, of all things, with a dev update video because I want to talk a little bit about what I've been spending my time doing. If you were a follower of the channel, you might recall sort of last year, towards the end of last year, I mean, it's ridiculously long time ago now, I started talking about a game that I've been working on called Craters, which was a sort of moon adventure action assembly type game. And I was pretty excited. Actually, it had reached a fairly advanced state. I wanted to show it off. It was getting to the point where I might start, playtesting and things. And then I went quiet. I went quiet for one important reason, and that is because I got myself a VR headset. I am currently in VR, if you can't tell. This is me in kind of like, in-game VR mode, which is, I'll talk about that in another video, I think, because I think it's really awesome. But obviously, my first thought was, right, make Craters work in VR. Easy, right? Yeah, not so easy, as it turns out. Craters was incredibly resource demanding because it was this 1/4 scale model of the moon. The height map data alone that I was utilizing was about 4 gigs of data. I mean, it was properly massive in scale, and so I have sort of various issues. I thought maybe I just continue to develop Craters as a regular non-VR game. Maybe I try and develop a VR game at the same time, a completely different one, a very lightweight one, but there are a lot of those out for VR, and I really wanted to make something crunchy. I wanted to make something that was actually like deep and fun and really involving, a game that you could lose yourself in for hours in VR, hours and hours and hours and hours. And that kind of took me back to thinking about It's Getting Dark. I've been stood here, this is like the 7th or 8th time I've tried to do this introduction, and now It's Getting Dark. As you can see, I've got full day night cycles in this VR game, which I'm now demonstrating. Also, you might be able to see in the background there, well, for starters, there's this rather unfortunate upside-down Mark 1 shuttle that I've got here, and behind it maybe something just sort of like disappearing. I don't know if that's really coming out clearly or not. But anyway, I kind of went back to the drawing board a little bit, and I went back to the original inspirations that I had when I started creating this tech that was what was powering Craters, and it has led ultimately to this. So rather than talking to a static camera here the whole time, let's do a bit of exploring. There's not a huge amount to see because I managed to break the save load like data files right before doing this video today, so I've kind of hastily put together a little location here and a few bits and pieces, but nonetheless I think it's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to showing you. So let's go and take a look. Well, this is my Mark 1 shuttle. This thing has served me well during the testing phase, I have to say, but it has been replaced, so it's not a problem that it's upside down right now. What I can actually do, I can grab the camera. Look, this is awesome. Look, I can grab the camera and I can just position it wherever I want. If I come over here and okay, yeah, if I get too close, things happen. Look, it's Craters Guy. Craters Guy. In fact, I am also Craters Guy. I forgot. I have borrowed Craters Guy's body. I've given him a nice red shirt and I've given him new hands, but it's his head and it's his fancy tash here. I've borrowed his body for the purposes of being my avatar here, and he's also in there for the purposes of scale. But anyway, look, that's not important. Let's grab the camera because we need to get somewhere. And if I just head over here, you can see hopefully over there now in the darkness. There's a little settlement. Now, it's bear in mind that the time and effort has been being spent on coding, not on creating fancy, cool 3D assets. So as we get a little bit closer to those buildings, that might become clearly obvious. I could walk over to them, but you know what? I'm a bit lazy. So let's use this bad boy here. Look, this is my mule. This is my little hover mule, and we're just going to jump on it. Hold on. Let me just stick this camera back here. One of the beautiful things about VR and interfaces in VR is you just build real things, physical things, and that's what I've done here. So I've got the steering wheel, which turns me left and right. I should say a little bit about motion sickness. Now, in the final game, whenever this game is sort of finally released, there'll be a variety of ways of having locomotion which are perhaps more conducive to people not being sick. I think simulation sickness is something that people would just get used to, but then maybe I'm just lucky. I mean, I have no problems at all now. I did to begin with a little bit when I first got VR, but now nothing bothers me at all. And this game would, if you got simulation sickness, this game in its current state probably would. But anyway, look, I got my steering wheel, I got my little accelerator, like speed control thing here. So let's just ease her around. And this is like a little main street of a settlement that I've created here. Like I said, I wouldn't pay too much heed to the models. The overall style is going to stay as this kind of like flat shaded polygon type thing. I kind of got, Futurama in my head a little bit, I think, when I've been designing some of these things. Firefly, Serenity, and other things like that. But look, if I just come over here and come to a stop, this right here, this is the Mark II shuttle. So this is a little bit nicer looking. It's a slightly fancier sort of model and things, and it it flies pretty well as well. Let's just head over. It's still nighttime. Can you see that up there? Yeah, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go to that planet you can see in the sky. In we go. Here we go. I don't know where there we go. The doors do actually open and close. Look. If I go to this door, look. Down it goes. They've got sensors on them. It's fine. Let's just. I'll give you a quick tour, I guess. So this is the cargo bay. The idea is that this is where you'll put your cargo. That's why it's called the cargo bay. There'll be lots of cargoes that you can carry. Most of them in cube form, I suspect. Come the final release, I kind of, is it too abstract to just kind of, trade in green cubes and blue cubes? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Where those kind of elements of the gameplay are still somewhat to be decided. If I head aft, this is the engine room here. This is the what will ultimately be the fancy engine core in the back. You got some tanks here for storing things, other stuff, like engineering, repairing the ship and all the ships, multiple ships. This isn't going to be just the only thing that you can get. Is going to be a part of the game, so having to kind of swap parts out, physically swap parts out, reverse the polarity, all of that kind of good stuff. Let's just go over here. So we're going to go forward now into the forward section of the ship. Nice slidey doors. This is just like a little, I don't know, work eating area. Like maybe this could be like some kind of auto chef type thing, replicator, I don't know, something like that. Through here is like a little bedroom. Every good spaceship's got to have a bedroom on it. And if we have learnt nothing from recent, like the doors just go. Recent highly successful space games, at least financially speaking, it's that you need to have toilets in your spacecraft. So there's my little toilet. Got a toilet, got a sink. It doesn't work at the moment. Oh, sorry, you were clipping inside my head then. It doesn't work at the moment, but it will do in time, probably, maybe. A couple of bookshelves. Anyway, look, let's get to the business end of the ship, which of course is the cockpit. So through the last door here, into the cockpit. Now we've got a little operations console here, which again, as of yet, doesn't do anything, but it will have all sorts of operations available to it. We've also got, somewhat similar controls to the little mule out there, but this is temporary. I think it's probably going to have really sort of high-tech controls and stuff, although possibly still going to keep the wheel. I'm not entirely sure, but it works. Like, I love having real physical controls that you just grab with your VR controllers and manipulate. And it's surprisingly easy actually to fly about and stuff as well. I've kind of moved into my VR space quite close to the wall. So here we go. I don't know where that planet is now, but we're gonna go there. So let's just give it some gas. A little bit of upthrust. There we go. Now this is just a joystick for controlling yaw and pitch. Or is it roll and pitch? Roll and pitch. Yaw is controlled with this little wheel here. Now this whole console is kind of low down. It's actually perfect if you're sitting down. And that's another thing I might want to experiment with, possibly allowing you to sort of designate a chair in your VR space that you sit in when you're in cockpits and things. possibly make the whole game playable from seated as well. There's very likely to be a non-VR way of playing the game as well. You'll be able to use a control pad instead of control hands. It won't be as good, but it'll work. And I think it's good to kind of be as inclusive as possible in that respect. It's really dark out there. Can we just turn the wheel here? I think we want to kind of go out that way. I can see mountains out that way. It's a shame it's not daytime, because we'd be able to see more stuff, but it's not, and we're not going to wait for daytime. So let's just give it a little bit of beans. We've got another planet up there, actually. Look, we could go to that one. There are currently three planets. There's one planet and 2 moons orbiting it, and the sun. There could be more. In fact, there will be more. The idea is that there'll be a whole system, possibly multiple systems. I don't know if multiple systems is really needed or not, but if it is, there will be. All right, there we go. Look, okay, so not only are we approaching the door now, but we've got our beautiful moon target dead ahead that we're going to head to. Sorry, I sort of decided to cut out the dark side stuff there, and I've been flying about and faffing about, which personally I love doing because it's just amazing. It's amazing. It's really hard to describe. I don't know if it comes across on a 2D screen, just how awesome it is doing stuff like this in virtual reality, but I love it. It's amazing. It's using a proper physics flight model, so it does have a lot of like helpers and stuff in there, like things to make it a little bit easier, and a bit. Let me just kind of just give you a better camera angle there. It's got kind of like artificial drag and stuff created in order to just make it manageable when flying around with such primitive controls as I'm using here. It's just such a joy. It's still such a joy. And ultimately what I kind of want to do is stick much more correctly to Newtonian physics, but have kind of advanced technology and things to be able to make it easier to fly without taking away that essential connection between you and flying the vehicle. I don't want the vehicles to fly themselves. Like, I don't want it to be all autopilot, although there probably will be an autopilot for longer journeys and things, and for people who don't want to fly it themselves or can't fly it themselves. It's just amazing. It's so much fun. So yeah, this is kind of going back to what I was originally envisioning before I kind of narrowed my vision to make Craters. Craters kind of was all about narrowing the scope to one planet and doing one planet, or moon in this case, really, really well, and really kind of like, exploiting that environment as much as possible, which had benefits because it meant I didn't need things like double precision maths and orbiting bodies and rotating frames of reference and all sorts of other stuff that I've needed to implement in order to make this work. But what I decided I kind of didn't need was full-scale planets. Like, full-scale planets are great, but they're really hard to do in VR because of the resource intensiveness of it, and filling that kind of scale of thing. And it's all about like where do you store the data that you need to be able to make it. Like the Craters moon, using real height data, like real NASA height data for the moon, was something like 4 gigs just for the height data for all the height points that the moon was doing, and that was for a 1/4 scale moon with a fairly wide sample distance between the two. I was filling in the gaps with some some noise algorithms and stuff. Let me just focus a little bit on getting to my target here. We're going pretty slowly. We're on kind of like regular drive mode at the moment, because it's beautiful. Is it not beautiful? I think it's beautiful. I mean, I could just spin around and I could go down there and I could land on that planet anywhere I wanted on that planet. And it's not a small planet. It's about 125 kilometers radius. So it's, there is a lot of space there. There's a lot of available space to be able to put things and to be able to manage stuff. The moon that we're heading to, I think, is about 40 kilometers. So again, it's a pretty big space. You can, it's obviously a lot smaller than a full-scale solar system, but I think it works nonetheless. But by kind of decoupling yourself from that need to have a realistic scale planet, you can actually open the scope up an awful lot, and you can have a whole solar system. and all of the wonders, or indeed multiple solar systems. You know, I mean, it's possible that this could be sort of a multiple star systems with some kind of faster than light jump drive technology. There's kind of a little bit of inspiration from the Outer Wilds here as well. I like the idea of seeing the majesty of the kind of cosmic dance of gravitationally bound bodies. So, I mean, you'll see, like, when we get over to the moon here, let's just activate our super speed drive, because it's going to take ages otherwise. So we're kind of like wheeling in. Look, there's another moon in the background behind it. The atmospheres are still a work in progress very much, but I'm kind of reasonably happy with where I've gotten them to. I've been doing quite a lot of work on that recently. It's all like shaders and stuff, which is just a nightmare for me, but thankfully it's starting to come together. We're just wheeling in towards this nice and quickly. Like, I've got my little indicators here. Let's just cut that speed drive down as we're getting rather close. Wheel down. Now, as I said, it's pretty forgiving. There's like quite a lot of artificial drag. Oh, I say that. Back it up, back it up. There we go. That's quite. You probably couldn't see. I just gave it full reverse because we were plummeting straight towards the target. There's a lot of drag, artificial drag applied to this ship in order to make it kind of manageable. But this is really boring. Look, we've come on this really big flat plane, so let's just give it a little bit of thrust, and we'll fly over the surface for a little while and see if we can find somewhere interesting to set her down. And that'll be it. I've kind of been rambling on a little bit. It's quite hard to do these dev videos whilst actually playing the game like this. I might just record some footage and have like a scripted bit that I read out for future ones. I guess we'll see. I guess it depends what people want as well. We're inside the atmosphere now. We can take it down. Take it down. Try to show like operating the controls. So this is my like vertical speed control. This is my horizontal speed control. That's your, and this is pitch and roll. And we're just going to ease it down. We're just falling under gravity at the moment, albeit with quite a lot of drag associated. This moon, by the way, rotates on its axis really rapidly. So let's just, oh, there we go, we're down. Well, we bounced. We're going to be down in a minute. There we go, now we're down. Let's head outside, because this is the last thing that I want to show you. This is what I was talking about, the sort of the cosmic dance. Open the doors. We are on an alien moon, and you can see how quickly the stars are wheeling overhead. That is because, look at this. Look at this. Look at that. That's the planet that we're orbiting. So we're orbiting it relatively quickly, plus the moon itself is spinning on its axis at something like 5 degrees per frame. I mean, it's going really fast. Sorry, 5 degrees a second, something like that. It's going really fast anyway. And you can just kind of, you get a real sense of it. And again, this is what I was talking about with the VR sickness. This is probably something that I need to watch out for, because even I've been stood here. If you don't keep your eyes on the moon, if you look at the stars, and look at this planet up here, look, this other moon. If you sort of look at that, it's like the whole world is rotating. It's like everything is just like, oh, it's in VR, it's awesome. I have to say, it's absolutely awesome, if you've got the stomach for it. But there we go. Unfortunately, I've kind of landed in a big flat. Oh, look at that. Planet rising over my ship, over the scenery in the background there. What can I say? So there we go, that's what I've been working on. Really all I've shown you here today is some of the atmosphere stuff, some of the ship functions, and like the planetary generation and stuff. There's a whole lot more that's gone into this. Of course, I could start talking about the gameplay and what's going to be involved from a gameplay perspective. I guess what I've got in my mind is a kind of a Frontier Elite 2 as a baseline, you know, like so trading, doing missions and stuff, but obviously being able to get out of your ship and being able to do a lot of this stuff on land as well. You know, I mean, what I kind of got in my mind for the start at the moment is that you're like you don't have a ship, maybe you've got a little bit of money saved up, you're in like a little outpost somewhere, there's like a used ship lot there, and maybe you can't afford anything at the beginning and you've got to kind of do little local missions, or maybe you can afford, like, you know, a little shuttle, or maybe you can afford a bigger ship, or maybe all you can afford is one of those little like mules or something, and you've got to do surface trading in order to build up the money to be able to actually free yourself, get your own ship and head off into the verse. But we'll have to wait and see how all of that pans out and when it all happens. But I wanted to show you anyway, because it's been a long time since I did a video, and I've been really working hard on this recently, and I'm really happy with how it's shaping up. So there we go. If you were waiting for Craters, if you're really keen on seeing Craters, don't worry, that game is still something that I'm intending to finish. Like, I think it is different enough in scope from this, that once I've kind of gotten this done, I'm going to get back to working on Craters and getting Craters back into some sort of workable state. Because I was really excited about Craters as well, and they're very different game concepts. Actually, in terms of the core gameplay, this one's going to be much more about flying about places, going places, trading and adventuring. This one's going to have combat in it, so you're going to have guns and stuff that you can carry. You're going to have possibly ship-to-ship combat and things like that. Whereas Craters is much more intended to be kind of a management game, where you would build up bases and manage lunar operations and things like that. So Craters is still on the cards, but it's rising again. But for the time being, this is where all my efforts and this is where all my energy is going. So if you've got any thoughts, if you've got any suggestions, if there's anything you'd like to see, if you've got any ideas for what I could name it, because at the moment I don't have a name. I kind of was toying with Littleverse, with the idea being that, it was kind of like this little universe with lots of closely small planets and stuff, but I don't think that really conveys the scope and scale of what this is going to be. And I don't want it to sound too cutesy either. I want this to be a game suitable for all ages, like Frontier Elite or those sorts of games were. So anyway, there we go. I've rambled on enough. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. More gaming videos coming on the channel soon as well. There'll be some Star Trek Bridge Crew solo. Eventually, there will definitely be the conclusion, a long awaited conclusion of Hearts of Iron 4. I can't even remember what version number it was anymore. Hearts of Iron 4. And of course other stuff, lots of other stuff, which I would love to get around to doing, and indeed I will try and get around to doing in the near future. But until then, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I have been Weird Wizard in Craters Guy's skin, here exploring worlds, and I will see you later.